The United States once proudly showcased its mother of all bombs, a symbol of unmatched firepower and global dominance. But today, a new shadow looms over the Middle East, Iran's so-called mother of all missiles. And this one doesn't sit quietly in a warehouse. It's mobile, it's operational, and it's aimed at the heart of America's closest ally. For decades, U.S. military planners assumed their layered missile defenses and forward-deployed forces could handle any threat. But that assumption is being ripped apart by Iran's rapidly evolving missile arsenal, systems designed to travel faster, fly lower, and strike farther than ever imagined. This isn't one missile or even 10. It's the nightmare scenario of hundreds launched at once, guided by precision GPS and designed to saturate every defensive screen. Israel knows what's at stake. Every major city from Tel Aviv to Haifa lies within striking range. Every U.S. base in the Gulf, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, the UAE, sits squarely inside Iran's missile envelope. And unlike nuclear weapons, there's no political debate or international red line stopping these weapons from being used. They are ready now. So the question, keeping Washington and Tel Aviv awake at night, is simple. What happens when the first wave comes and there's no place left to hide? What would America look like if there were no safe places left? Leave your thoughts below and subscribe to our channel and join me for the rest of this story. For decades, Iran lived under some of the toughest sanctions ever imposed, designed to strangle its military ambitions and keep it a second-tier power. Western planners believed that without advanced fighter jets, imported avionics, and access to global defense supply chains, Tehran would never rise beyond regional nuisance status. They were wrong. Cut off from modern aircraft like America's F-35 Lightning II and long-range stealth bombers like the B-2 Spirit, Iran pivoted. Instead of trying to match U.S. air superiority dollar for dollar, it poured its resources into missiles. Cheaper, easier to conceal, and capable of reaching targets that aircraft could only dream of hitting without risking pilots and billion-dollar planes. When Western electronics were denied, Iranian engineers improvised, fusing commercial components with domestic innovation. That relentless focus gave birth to the IRGC Aerospace Force, a dedicated branch designed solely to build and deploy missiles that could threaten every corner of the Middle East and far beyond. The result is one of the world's most diverse missile arsenals, rivaling even NATO inventories in size and strategic flexibility. Where America leans on precision airstrikes from high-cost platforms, Iran embraces cost-effective mobile missile systems that bypass air defenses entirely. The difference in philosophy is striking. One relies on control of the sky. The other makes the sky irrelevant. Consider the Khorramshahr-4, a ballistic missile with a 2,000-kilometer range and the ability to carry up to 1,800 kilograms of warheads, 4 times the payload of a U.S. Tomahawk cruise missile. The Sajil, fueled by solid propellant, launches within minutes, mimicking America's Minuteman III ICBM readiness, but mounted on mobile platforms that make it far harder to target. The K-Bar-Shekan, with its maneuverable warhead, is engineered to evade interception, exploiting weaknesses in missile shields like Israel's Arrow 3 and even America's THAAD. And the Pave cruise missile, hugging the Earth to avoid radar, achieves what America's air-launched AGM-86 ALCM does, but from a truck instead of a strategic bomber at a fraction of the cost. This is not theory. In January 2020, after the U.S. strike that killed General Qasem Soleimani, Iran launched 16 ballistic missiles at U.S. bases in Iraq. Those missiles struck with near-pinpoint precision, injuring over 100 American personnel and stunning analysts who had long dismissed Iran's technology as primitive. General Amir Ali Hajizadeh, the architect of Iran's missile program, summed up this confidence bluntly: every U.S. base in the region is within reach. Every Israeli city is within range. The message is unmistakable. Iran doesn't need stealth bombers to project power. It doesn't need nuclear weapons to instill fear. Instead, it has built an arsenal designed to overwhelm defenses and force adversaries to rethink decades of military doctrine. Where the U.S. spends billions on stealth fighters and strategic bombers, Iran spends a fraction on mobile, precision weapons that can cripple airfields and logistics hubs before those aircraft ever leave the ground. It is a fundamental shift. Low cost, high volume, precision firepower, challenging high cost, low volume air superiority. And for the first time in decades, Washington must confront the uncomfortable reality that its forward bases and regional allies may not be safe, even before a war officially begins. Iran has not only developed a wide range of missiles for defense, they have created weapons that symbolize a new deterrence doctrine, what Western military analysts call the mother of all missiles. The two most notable names are the Khorramshahr-4 and the Sanctions. These are not just long-range projectiles. They are the culmination of decades of research, overcoming sanctions to achieve a level of technology many once believed Iran could never reach. The Khorramshahr-4 is a medium-range ballistic missile with a range of about 2,000 kilometers and the capability to carry warheads weighing between 1,500 and 1,800 kilograms, a payload powerful enough to destroy air bases, command centers, or even cripple urban infrastructure with a single strike. Its accuracy is no longer in question. Its guidance system and terminal control fins allow for an error margin measured in mere tens of meters, meaning it can target an aircraft hangar rather than just an entire airport. If the Khorramshahr is an iron fist, then the Sanctions is a dagger for lightning attacks. Using solid fuel, it can be launched within minutes, reducing an opponent's reaction time to the point where it is nearly impossible to neutralize before leaving its launcher. With an extremely high re-entry speed and a range exceeding 2,000 kilometers, the Sanctions directly challenges missile defense systems like Israel's Arrow 3 or David's Sling. It is this combination of weight and speed, Khorramshahr and Sanctions together, that has shifted the psychological balance. Israeli experts have had to admit that even if 90% of the missiles are intercepted, the remaining 10% would still be enough to destroy critical infrastructure, paralyze power grids, airports, supply depots, and military command centers. These are not just weapons, they are a message. Iran doesn't need nuclear weapons to spread fear. Just one coordinated salvo from these mothers of all missiles is enough to force adversaries to rethink their entire strategy. Imagine this: an Israeli strike hits Iran's nuclear facilities, sparking a response years in the making. At dawn, deep inside Iran's central deserts, mobile launchers roll into position. Within seconds, 120 Khorramshahr-4 ballistic missiles and Pave cruise missiles roar into the sky, fanning out on multiple trajectories with one objective: shattering the illusion of absolute defense for both the U.S. and Israel. The first wave slams into U.S. bases in Qatar and Bahrain. Runways are ripped apart, fuel depots erupt in fireballs, and surveillance radars go dark. 2 minutes later, the second wave streaks toward Israel's military hubs around Tel Aviv and Haifa. Iron Dome interceptors fire furiously, but magazines run dry within minutes. Arrow 3 focuses on high-altitude threats, leaving low-flying Pave cruise missiles to slip under radar coverage and punch through the gaps. 10 minutes in, key infrastructure lies in ruins. Power grids fail, air defense networks go silent, and logistics hubs burn. Emergency sirens howl across Israel's crowded cities as terrified civilians rush to shelters. Social media fills with shaky videos of massive explosions and plumes of smoke rising over city skylines. U.S. intelligence calls it the largest coordinated missile strike in the Middle East since the Gulf War. Analysts point to its symbolic timing: 7:32 a.m., April 13th, the exact moment the U.S. once dropped the Moab in Afghanistan, a chilling signal written in fire and steel. By evening, Washington convenes an emergency session at the Pentagon. The discussion is no longer about if to retaliate, but how to stop the next wave. And an uncomfortable truth sets in. America's military dominance can be shaken, not by nuclear weapons, but by mobile, inexpensive, and overwhelming missile technology ready to fire at any moment. Iran's strategy isn't just about big missiles, it's about overwhelming the mind before overwhelming the battlefield. Alongside its ballistic arsenal, Iran deploys swarms of Shahed-136 suicide drones, cheap, plentiful, and battle-proven. These drones, already seen in Ukraine and Yemen, fly low and slow, often undetected until it's too late. Their purpose isn't only to destroy, it's to confuse, saturate, and exhaust defensive systems long before the main strike hits. This is known as a saturation attack. Step 1. Flood the sky with dozens of cheap drones, forcing air defense operators to light up radars and expend interceptors. Step 2. Unleash high-speed ballistic and cruise missiles through the gaps. In this layered assault, defenders face an impossible choice: shoot at the drones and risk running dry when the real threat comes, or hold fire and risk letting kamikaze drones slam into radar sites and power stations. The psychological impact is brutal. Israeli air defense crews work around the clock, never knowing whether the next blip on radar is a decoy or a warhead. Civilians live under constant sirens, emergency shelters packed for days. The drones themselves emit a distinct buzzing sound, a chilling mechanical whine that residents in Ukraine have nicknamed the lawnmower of death. One senior Israeli officer speaking off record admitted, "Our systems are strong, but no system can handle thousands of simultaneous threats. Iran knows this, and that's the point. Fear and fatigue are weapons too." This is warfare without crossing the nuclear line, yet it achieves the same goal: forcing a modern military and its civilian population into a state of permanent high alert, draining morale and resources day after day. The United States has faced adversaries with missiles before, but Iran's threat is different. Every U.S. base from Kuwait to the UAE, every carrier group operating inside the Persian Gulf, and even critical logistics hubs in Iraq and Jordan now sit squarely within Iran's missile envelope. These are not hypothetical targets. They are GPS plotted, pre-programmed, and launch-ready. The fear isn't just about range, it's about volume and speed. Iran's doctrine focuses on mobile launchers, hidden in mountain caves or buried beneath hardened shelters, capable of firing and disappearing within minutes. Even with America's unmatched surveillance satellites, finding and neutralizing these launchers in real time is nearly impossible. And then comes the export problem. Iran has already supplied missile and drone technology to Hezbollah in Lebanon, Houthi rebels in Yemen, and Shiite militias across Iraq and Syria. These groups have proven willing to attack oil facilities, shipping lanes, and even U.S. bases. A conflict with Iran doesn't just mean one front, it means a regional firestorm. Politically, Washington faces an excruciating dilemma. It is bound to defend Israel and Gulf allies, yet doing so means risking U.S. troops and infrastructure that could be destroyed in minutes. A senior U.S. defense official, speaking under condition of anonymity, admitted, "We've never faced an opponent capable of hitting us this hard, this fast, without using nuclear weapons. This is why the U.S. truly fears Iran's missile program. It's cheap, it's mobile, it's everywhere, and it changes the balance of power without firing a single nuclear warhead. Iran's so-called mother of all missiles isn't just one weapon, it's an entire doctrine, one built on mobility, volume, and relentless psychological pressure. It shows how a nation under decades of sanctions can still reshape modern warfare, not through nuclear escalation, but through speed, precision, and saturation attacks that overwhelm even the most advanced defenses. For the US and Israel, the challenge isn't whether they can strike back. They can. The question is whether they can absorb that first strike without suffering crippling losses to infrastructure, logistics, and morale. Modern warfare is no longer about who has the biggest bomb. It's about who can launch the first 1,000 missiles and drones while the enemy is still deciding what to shoot down first. This shift terrifies Washington and Tel Aviv alike. The age of missile dominance is no longer a future threat. It's already here, and Iran has proven it can play the game. What do you think? Could this missile doctrine force America into a defensive posture for the first time in decades? Leave your thoughts in the comments section, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next installment on the hidden truths of modern warfare.